Nice pass. Coach Steve here. This is my good friend Justin Misha. He's a Washington Capitals fan waiting for Alexander Ovechkin to break this huge record. But right now I want to ask him, what is your fondest hockey memory?
It's got to be me scoring a hat trick when I was like 10 and then getting in a fight. Yeah, it was definitely that.
You almost had a Gordie Howe hat trick, eh?
Yeah, I probably had an assist. We didn't capture those at the time.
To Cross Ice Pass, episode 38 of season 2. It's been 5 months since we have had an episode, and I'm going to explain a touch about that because I'm going to lighten up my intros and start to really focus on the interviews. There's not going to be as many of them, but there's still going to be, the content will still be as rich as possible. I will use other platforms of social media to create content to show or explain or document or whatever, kind of fill in on things I'm working on, fill in on exhibition teams that I've been playing with. I've created a exhibition team called the Cross Ice Pass Apples here in the city. We'll be wearing Ottawa Senators jerseys with the great Cross Ice Pass logo on it. So keep an eye out for that here in New York City and wherever you can follow us. Secondly, my intros were getting a little long. It was getting a little taxing on me to build the content for that, just due to my normal work schedule. Also, the intention of Cross Ice Pass is to get great stories about how hockey has affected people in their lives, whether that is in the current status, people that maybe didn't follow hockey for a while, who became big hockey fanatics or players or coaches, and vice versa. Guys that had great careers at a high level, at all in front offices, on the ice, in the NHL, in all leagues, with all types of hockey. I really want to focus on how the content and the interviews are really kind of built around that. Last episode was Terry Kalna, who gave us a really good, insightful interview about the front offices of the NHL. I got to talk to Tyler McGregor, the captain of Team Canada's sled hockey team. Such a joyful guy there. I got to talk to not only 2024's Willie O'Ree Award winner in Estella Rivas Bryant for the Empowerment Project, but also episode 1 was Jason McCrimmon and Detroit Ice Dreams. So there's a lot of different variation that I'm trying to do with the content for this site, the content for my interviews, and also things that I do out in the world, trying to include more of my coaching expertise and thoughts, kind of keeping it real. So I don't have to burn 20 minutes of your time kind of telling you what I feel about things that are happening in the league right now. I will say, though, that there's a lot of great college hockey. Congratulations, Badgers women, for their big win. But I'll be mentioning that stuff I'm going to be using stories here on YouTube and other platforms like Instagram. Trying to avoid Twitter as a content base. Also thinking about adding TikTok. You guys can tell me if I should add TikTok or not. My hat I'm wearing today is by Puck International. It's a fairly new company, Northeast based. They make really great products, really great, undergarments to play hockey with. They have some very cool, like garters that, have the American flag on them, Canadian flag, tie dye, all kinds of good stuff there. They have some cut protection, shirts, and some great stuff for not only the adults but also youth, as well as really cool, really well made lifestyle products. I actually have one of their shirts on underneath my hoodie tonight, and then this hat as well. My hoodie, though, is because I finally got to go to a Danbury Hat Tricks game live. So very excited about that. Such a good moment to kind of get out of the hustle and bustle of the city and just kind of see people all over the country, kind of in these small towns, these small cities, these small areas that are really rooting for minor league teams and minor league hockey. It was a lot of fun. Thank you, Herm Sorcher, who's also been on the pod, as well as Tom Westfall, Jason McCrimmon again, Ryan Devine, all played for Danbury at one point. So definitely check that out. And if you are really wanting and hungry for good, really good, entertaining hockey, go out and watch a minor league game. Today's guest was a bit of a journeyman around the league. And Steve, we share the same name, so that's pretty cool. But Steve has such rich stories about some things that he had to go through in his career just to really work hard to find his way into the NHL, even though those were limited moments. But he was able to play in the NHL, and he's pretty proud of that. But let's move on to Steve. We've got a guy born in Thunder Bay, Ontario, drafted by the Quebec Nordiques, 196 in the 92 NHL entry draft. Played juniors in the WHL with Tri-City Victoria. Kamloops, was a WHL West All-Star 93-94. Started a journeyman pro career with the Cape Breton Oilers in the AHL, then moving to Hamilton. Was around for the AHL to IHL, back to AHL change. In the IHL, played for Cleveland and Chicago before playing with Lowell and Norfolk. Won the Fred T. Hunt Memorial Award in 96-97, which was awarded to an AHL player that best exemplified sportsmanship, determination, and dedication to hockey. Starting in 98-99, he spent time with Edmonton Oilers, Kings, and mostly with the Chicago Blackhawks over the span of 4 years. After all that, during the lockout year of 04-05, he spent his last seasons in Germany, Finland, Austria, and Italy. Currently CEO of System 29 Financial Solutions. Welcome to Cross Ice Pass number 29, Steve Passmore.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for having me, Coach.
Of course, anytime. So, Steve, the one thing I always start with that is something I always like to – I try not to get too much of a warning with this question, but I like to always ask it is, what is your fondest hockey memory that you can think of? It can be old, new, anything.
Okay, so I got to say I played in the WHL, and I mean, for the real hockey fans, they know what the WHL is. My first game, I came in as a 15-year-old. I backed up a bunch of times, and I got one game played while I was a 15-year-old. I won the Memorial Cup as a 20-year-old. So after, I don't know, you do the math, 6 years in the league. As a guess, I was 21 when we won it, but we won the Memorial Cup my final year of the WHL in Laval. And I'm going to say that is probably one of my fondest memories. And they always say when you have teams that win, you never forget those dudes. We're tight to this day. And I've played with many players, as you just went through my illustrious, long hockey DB. I've played with a lot of guys, but those are the guys that I have the fondest memories with.
Is there any reason that playing for Kamloops and winning the Memorial Cup, and now you live in Kamloops, right?
Yeah, got traded up here at 19 years old, and I've been here ever since. So I grew up. So you said I was born in Thunder Bay. That chaps my behind a little bit, just because we use the facilities in Thunder Bay. Technically, I was born in Ontario. I grew up in Grand Forks, BC. That is, if I could switch, if there's one thing in my career and my life that I could switch, it would be Grand Forks, BC would be considered my home and my hometown, but they always put where you were born. I grew up in Grand Forks at the time I was 13 years old till I moved away to go play hockey at 15. So
Okay.
that's home.
Well, thank you for that correction, and it's good to know because I never want to. I always wonder when it comes to the born on location. It's like, oh,
I literally tried to get them to switch that in the like in the program, and I tried to get them to switch that on my hockey cards because I'm proud. Grand Forks is a town of 3,500 people, small farming community in BC, and two of us. So we had a team of 15 kids. We didn't have tryouts. We had 15 kids that were the same age. And like if Bob decided he wasn't going to play, we had to talk Bob into it or we didn't have a team. And from that team of 15 kids, two of us made the NHL. So you want to talk about lottery odds. I think lottery is better odds than that actually happening. And I think we both of us take a lot of pride in that. And the other one's, before you ask, Kevin Sawyer. Is the other one. So we grew up together, we played together, and I think it's pretty cool that it came from a small town like that.
That's pretty amazing, and it's also, kind of it kind of leads me right into talking about your hockey life and what brought you to hockey and who was integral in kind of bringing you to the sport, and then on top of all that, why you chose to be a goalie.
Because I'm not smart. So what brought it? I'm going to go. So we'll do a family history here. Both my parents were very athletic. My grandmother was my first skating. She took me to the family skate. Started me skating at about 2. And she used to goaltending. She started shooting pucks at me at about the time I was 3.5. I don't know whether it's because she was mad at me and that was the best way of disciplining. And it sounds way cooler if, I'm shooting pucks at him, then I'm mad at him. So that started my goaltending sort of part. I played both in goal and out, half and half growing up, sort of I started minor hockey at 4. And then at 9, I told my parents that I wanted to be a full-time goalie. You get addicted to either you're the hero or the GOAT. Like you're either like the coolest thing on the ice or you're terrible and you suck. Like you were the reason. Either way, you're the reason, right? And I don't know whether my personality, I got kind of addicted to that. But at 9, I told my parents I wanted to play in goal full-time. They told me I had to become the best skater on the team. So by the end of the year, I was. And they let me play goal full-time after that. And the rest is, I don't know if it's good history, but it's history.
One thing that's interesting what you mentioned. First off, the fact that the thing that brought you kind of to the start of goaltending was your grandmother shooting pucks at you. That's outstanding. And then secondly, you were around that time frame in the 80s where skating and for goaltending started to become a real important thing. I know Ed Belfour, I played beer league against him when I was young. He's one of the best skaters I've ever seen. So to me, when did that kind of start to become a big part of the training?
Well, it was both, like I said, both my parents that were both my coaches. My mom was my actual first coach. Was just the importance of goalies aren't just going to sit there. They're actually somewhat athletic as well. And, you don't put the big fat kid in goal and just hope that he stands there. It was there, they wanted me to make sure that I could skate and play the game and be contributing because I was pretty good playing out too. Like I said,
there was only 15 of you. There was only 15 of you, so
well, yeah, it wasn't that hard. But you know what I mean? But they did. They recognized that if you're gonna excel at anything on the ice, you probably should be able to move. So it was sort of ahead of its time, but it was, and especially I was small, man. Like I topped out at 5'9". I still top out. I hope I'm still 5'9", but you know, I played at 5'9". 175 pounds. My first game in the WHL is 135 pounds. So not a big dude. I might be bigger now, maybe.
Well, you know, enough. That
The
kind of
camera
catches up. That
adds,
catches up to everybody.
so the camera adds like 30 pounds.
Speaking of your WHL career, there was one stat in there that really kind of poked out from the rest, which was the 1 year with you. We played with Victoria, 91, 92. You played 71 games, and it's like 422, 400 and 200 and 4,228. There we go. There's my hockey brain. Minutes between the pipes. How was that season? Holy man! Holy crap!
Well, we sucked. But I will say this: so even Gretzky now can't say that records will never be broken. I will guarantee you, and I will stamp this guaranteed. My records of three things. I have three records in the WHL that will never be broken, and you can stamp it guaranteed. Games played, minutes played, and saves. In that 1 year when I played 71 out of 72 games, which is insane, it'll never be broken. We were bad for sure. But I honestly, I had a great year. I really, now don't look at the goals against, but if you look at the save percent, so in all honesty, if you look at the goals against and the save percentage, I think I had an 88.5. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yep.
88.5 save percentage with a 4.94.
Yeah, no, I mean, see,
right? So when you're
I try not to be too hard on that because I also saw what how many losses you had, and I know that wasn't, that's a big number on you, but I also know that there's 20 other guys that have to suck that up as well.
I think I went 15, 55, and 1.
Yep. Actually, no, 15, 50, and 5.
Oh, sweet. 15, 50, and 5. Right? I mean, I have 15 wins. You played 71 games. You got 15 wins. But of those 71 games, I think I got first star in 50 of those games.
Yeah, and you can see through through the stats and just kind of going through that career that you can see why your last 2 years in juniors with Kamloops was so integral into why you ended up being a pro. I can only imagine.
It was funny because I got when I got traded to Kamloops. So actually, the first game I played, I got traded there. We played Prince Albert. I have a weird memory that remembers these things, but I played Prince Albert. We won 2-1, and that we allowed 21 shots. And the press afterwards are like, "Oh my God, how was your game?" I'm like, "We used to give that up in a period." I'm like, that was like a night off. I napped halfway through the game. And they're thinking this is an incredible win, and I'm thinking that was one period of shots that I normally faced. I was bored. So just a very different in what you have to do.
I think, growing up in a small farm town, and being kind of that Iron Man that you had to deal with in those 71 games and then building into that, it takes me into like something in your pro career, something from the beginning stands out for me because I remember your nomination for the Masterson Trophy when I was younger, and I was like, said for his return to the blood disease, and I'm like, so I started looking this up. This happened in your second year pro, and it was a life-threatening blood disease. The thing that cracks me up on Wikipedia, because Wikipedia is questionable, even though I know it's called this, it says heavy metal poisoning, and I'm just like, let's put out the Iron Maiden, and the horns. But I'm curious about what that is and how you overcame it to play such a long career after that moment.
Okay, I'll give you the Coles Notes version. So grew up as a redneck kid on a ranch. We got our water from a creek. And the headwaters of that creek ran through a 1920s mine site that has been closed down. Environmental knowledge was not what it came to be now, so they didn't give a shit what leached out of the water. They didn't care. So I started getting severe muscle cramping. We didn't know what it was, but I couldn't finish a game. Like I would, it would literally start in my hand as I would be holding my stick, and it would cramp solid, and then it would move to my back and then my legs, and it was all weird. Nobody knew what was going on. So they did testing. They found out I had heavy metal poisoning. I was off the charts. They actually, so funny story is when they sent my results over to England to get it tested, they thought I was already dead. So they thought my levels were so high in copper, arsenic, manganese, and antimony, they actually thought I was dead already. And then when they came back and they're like, okay, well, they thought they were doing it on a cadaver, and they're like, no, this kid's playing pro hockey, like professional hockey. And they're like, nope, no, he's not. They're like, yep, yeah, he is. So I was off the charts in those four things. I had no calcium and no lithium in my system at all that were registering. So when they figured that out, I had a doctor, I wish I could remember his name, he's passed away now, in Calgary, that said, I can help you by something called chelation, which I'd never heard of. It's actually used for heart disease, and it's like the layman's terms, inject millions of magnets into your body, and they suck the heavy metals out of your cells. That's the way he explained it to me, because I'm not a doctor.
So you are Iron Man in a way.
Yeah, 100%. And I ended up doing that. I tried doing pills. I was on 49 pills a day. I was swallowing them by the handful. They weren't drugs or anything. It was natural stuff. And then that didn't work. So this guy started doing it, and I ended up doing this chelation therapy for the next 5 years. And it saved my career. It really did. I don't know why, I don't know how, but I'm happy my muscles don't crap up so I can't walk anymore.
Well, I mean, the thing that's just so amazing about it is that you were playing the next year.
I was playing halfway through the year.
Yeah.
So he told me, so when I called him, I had been suspended without pay from the Edmonton Oilers because I failed. So on the fitness test, I actually cramped up and failed the fitness test because my quad muscles went into cramping and I failed the test. So they suspended me without pay because they thought I was out of shape and they didn't know why, but they suspended me without pay. And I talked to this doctor in Calgary, and he said, I can fix you in 6 months. And I said, well, you got 3, because my next test was January 4th with Edmonton to see if I started getting paid again. So I moved to Calgary, moved in with my uncle, took 2 bartending and bouncing jobs to pay bills because I wasn't getting paid. By January 4th, I passed the physical test, and they had to start paying me, which I was happy about. And then I went down to Hamilton, and we ended up going on a good run and finished second. We lost in the finals of the Calder Cup.
Yeah, no, it's such an amazing story. When I was kind of looking through all of this, I'm like, man, there's got to be a nugget in there. I mean, other than your goalie fights, which we'll definitely talk about. But once I saw this, I'm like, man, talk about a person getting through an unbelievable thing that just kind of, definitely sidetracked your career. But also hearing, when I talked about you being a journeyman and having to, do things to make sure you could pay your bills and things is unreal. Just having to go through all that and still finding the hunger to stay on the ice.
It's not your average career path. I'll give you that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, your return that year at Hamilton, that's when you won the Fed T. Hunt Memorial Trophy. And after that conversation, they should have given you 5 or something. That's unreal. So speaking of the journeyman career, you were first off, must be amazing at packing up when I look at your career, because there's so many years where there was one season you played a few teams, a couple of seasons where you had a couple that, like, you were between two teams. I can only imagine how fast you are at packing the suitcase. How was that through your career though? I mean, until you really went to England and got to play full seasons, man, that you was jumping all around mostly.
I like hotels, apparently. uh, I credit my wife at the time, no longer my wife now, but my Lisa was amazing. I'm like, come home and say, guess what? I'm leaving in 2 hours. Good luck. I remember. So these are the things that people don't understand about when I call it being a bubble player. When you're a bubble player in the NHL, um, there is no security. It's every practice. It's like you're trying out. Like tomorrow, you might get cut. You might be sent to the minors. You're never told to, hey, why don't you go buy a house? No, they don't do that. I remember.
How are you like able to deal with that pressure? That's a lot of pressure on you. And never like trying to be you're never really the guy, you know?
So I got taught one thing from a coach, and I'll be honest, I can't remember which coach it was, but he always told me, don't ever try and figure out the world of hockey, because you'll be in a padded room with a jacket that's really tight and your arms are like to your sides. He said, control what you can control. Don't worry about the rest, because it'll drive you insane. So when he says control what you can control and don't stress about the rest, play as hard as you can, give everything you got, be as good as you can. The rest you can't control. You can't control whether you get called up, sent down. That's out of your control. Don't try and understand it. You've just got to roll with the punches. And if you think too much about it, it'll drive you nuts.
Yeah, I can only imagine. Because, I mean, even when every hockey player has probably been cut or, been sitting in the middle of the bench hoping for ice time, and just kind of going through that and thinking about, I think, this blood issue situation, growing up in a small town, those are the kind of things I think that gives you that kind of resilience, I think. Probably, I hope.
Well, if you look at my career, I wasn't really talented, but I think I worked hard.
Yeah.
Right.
No,
like honestly, I think that's, and I take pride in that. Like, I don't mean that as self-deprecating or, oh, I wasn't that no, I don't think I was very talented, but I had a big heart. I worked my ass off. I literally fought my way through all of it. But that's kind of that's what builds character, and hopefully I was a good teammate through the way.
All these years kind of running through AHL and IHL teams. Before we kind of move on to the NHL teams you got to play with, is there any city of all these AHL minor teams that you really enjoyed, you really liked playing there?
Okay, so Cape Breton, Nova Scotia was the first time it was the first time I'd been introduced to, let's call it, the Eastern culture of Eastern Canada. Oh my God, I loved it. Just the people were amazing. They apparently spoke English. I didn't realize that until a couple weeks in. I remember my first meeting with a gentleman in the restroom. He had to repeat the sentence 3 times before I understood him, asking where I was from. Just great human beings, like amazing. So I loved living in Cape Breton. Every town that you went to had its own spots. Hamilton was great. Everybody called it Steel Town, thought it was dirty. I enjoyed it. I'm a bit of a redneck though, so that might have something to do with it.
Yeah, I don't go to too many. I live in the shiniest city, and I don't go to too many shiny places, so I understand that a lot.
You live in the what?
In New York City, so it's all the bars are fancy and whatever, but I go to a lot of kind of down to earth places for sure. with down to earth people.
Lived in Lowell, Mass for a bit. That's a shithole. I'm gonna
Yeah.
call it that right out of the gate. But you know what? This sport blessed me with being able to. I lived literally coast to coast, Canada, all the way from Victoria to Cape Breton, Nova Scotia. I lived in LA and I lived in Lowell, Mass. So I went coast to coast there, and honest to God, everywhere in between. My hockey DB shows that. You know what? I'm proud to say I did that.
I mean, to be quite honest, not many do. I mean, I think everyone kind of like, okay, I want to find this one team and I want to stay there through my career. But, also those aren't the people
wanted me. That was what I kept telling myself.
And it's just like, everyone on social media, I want to travel. You got to experience all of North America with the exception of Mexico. But and then it took you to Europe even, and you got to spend time there. So I think having that open mind and having understanding that,
I had a blast.
That's an okay, journey for sure.
Absolutely. Yeah, I loved it.
The thing that's funny about the NHL career, and I want to talk about it first because I've seen a lot of things that talk about it, is these crazy goalie fights that are on YouTube, and I gotta ask about each one a little separately. We won't talk a ton about it, but you had a fight with Garceau when you were with the Oilers.
Garceau had a fight with me.
I was going to ask you one thing about this because I could tell your arm got stuck in your pads.
I chicken winged myself.
Oh, no. Well, Garceau was a big guy too. I mean, it's all three guys you went up to are tall guys.
Yeah, I'm not smart. So, I love fighting. But I won't say everyone had a reason. Garceau was an exhibition game in Vancouver. I was playing terrible. I'm going to be honest. I was playing awful. I'd already let in 3 goals. I had my family there and everybody watching me play an exhibition game. I'm like, okay, the only way to get out of this game is if I fight because I know I'm getting thrown out. So there was a scrum. And I looked down at Garceau and I shook. I'm like, game on, dude. Let's go. And I love fighting anyway. I mean, if I get my butt kicked, I'm okay with that. I've been beat up before. So the problem was, though, in the minors, my trainers, because I'm short, they always cropped my sleeves. So they were short sleeves, which meant they were longer, right? So I go to Edmonton and we're in the exhibition. They haven't cropped my sleeves for the short kid yet. So normally when I got in a fight, I could shake my right arm and I'm out of everything and I've got a free arm to throw and he can't hold on to it. Which when you're 5'9" fighting a guy that's 6'4", 220, the advantage would help.
Yeah.
So we're square and you can see it on YouTube and we're squaring off and I go to shake and I literally chicken wing myself and I'm like, I need every advantage. I don't need like one less arm. And I'm circling him. I'm trying to just get away until I can get that arm out. And he's throwing me wherever he wants me. And he's just throwing punches. And I'm just trying to get my arm out to not die. That's all I'm trying to do.
Or maybe protect your face or whatever.
I wasn't worried about that. Look at this. You're not going to hurt this thing.
It's funny, though, you were talking about going after big guys and how fast your arm got out. Against the Sharks, when you ended up fighting Steve Shields. It took a while before that fight happened, and you were with I forget who the player was. Yeah, and he had you tied up, and he had all of his gear off like most fighters do back in those days, and you were like ready to go with him. You didn't care. You were ready to go. And
so the funny thing is we're square. Like I got him. I'm like, okay, are we going? Like, let's go. And he's like, no. I don't know what he was speaking Russian, but I'm like, you ready? Like, and he's like, haha, and he's like, no. But then if you see that clip after he lets go of me, he grabs he grabs one of my defensemen. He beats the shit out of him. I'm like, well, maybe it was good that he didn't fight me. That might have been me. Right.
Well,
and then Steve Shields came after me and all that. By that time, I'm already exhausted.
yeah, and you guys
Because
had
that's when Brent Myers gave me a shot.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was. Like I said, I've always been in the middle of those things. It's been fun.
No, and I mean, that was with the Blackhawks, and the thing is, your third fight was with giant Dan Cloutier, who ended up sucker punching you after the refs came in, and me being a kid from Detroit, big Red Wings fan, and seeing Bob Probert and the refs having to stop Bob Probert after going after the goaltender, who had an entire career running goaltenders, and it was unreal to see how that went, because Cloutier was like, he knew when Bob Probert was there. I don't know. He goes, I don't think so. But I thought you did pretty good in that fight.
I did. I missed the uppercut though. So I literally threw an uppercut. I had him down, and if that would have landed, it would have been lights out. But the funny thing is I tried to fight him 2 years before in the minors, and I skated all the way down the ice to grab him, and he sicked the linesman on me. And I'm like, dude, I thought you were tough. Like, you want to go? Let's go. I thought you were tough, and he sicked the linesman on me. So in that game, we were winning 3-1, and there was a scrum or whatever, and he was having a bad game, and so he wanted to, I think, same thing. I'd been there. I wanted to get out of it too. And so he gives me the shake. I'm like, oh, yeah, let's go. So we go down. So the funny thing is, we were the only fight. Like, we were the only fight. There was no other fight. So we scrapped, and then the linesman got me like this, and he had me tied up, and Klutch, he sucker punches me, and I'm giggling. Like, after you can see me in the thing, I'm laughing my ass off. I'm like, you're an idiot. Come on. Right? So
yeah.
So then the linesmen take us to our benches, and they're like, Passy, you're out of here. I'm like, no, I'm actually not. Like, I'm just going to put my shit on and go back and goal. And he's like, no, you're out. And I'm like, no, I'm pretty sure we were the only fight, which means 5-minute penalty. I don't have to serve it. I just put my stuff on and go back and goal. And sure enough, he gets kicked out because of sucker punching me. I just put my stuff back on and go back and goal. And I think I ended up getting first star of that game because, I mean, I get the win 3-1, get in a fight, go back and goal. And if you go back to that game, that is the game that Ryan Vandenbush and Kyle Frederick had one of the coolest fights I've ever seen. Those two, like those two guys threw bombs.
I mean, you were at that time. I mean, you played around the 90s and the early 2000s were, it was kind of the end of those kind of fighters and goons. But, you always played on a team that had lots of guys with lots of penalty minutes.
So go look at my Victoria, the 92 PIMs. I had 5 fighting majors that year.
Well, I mean, you were released on the ice. That's why.
No, that was the year before. I think that's the year before. I think I played 35 games. Correct me if I'm wrong. You can correct me if I'm wrong.
Yep.
35 games.
The 90-91, you played 35. You got 36 PIMs. In 91, 92, 71 games, 92 PIMs.
Oh, that is. Okay, that was the year. Yeah. I got because I had 5 fighting majors that year.
But I mean, how was it playing, with the Blackhawks those years with that kind of protection in front of you with guys like Chris Simpson, Ryan Vandenbush, who people always forget how good of a fighter he was, Scott Nickel, and of course Bob Probert. How was it playing behind these guys that the opponent does not want to play against?
Well, we weren't very good with the puck, so we better be good at something.
Right.
Right. Like, let's be honest. We were the best minor league team playing in the NHL. We weren't great. We had great people, great human beings, great players, huge personalities. Ryan Vandenbush is probably pound for pound the toughest man I've ever played with or met. You're looking at a guy that's 5'11". If it says 6 feet, they're full of shit. He played at maybe 195 pounds, and he fought all the heavyweights, like every heavyweight, never turned anybody down. Ended a couple guys' careers because of his big left hand, but just a great human, great dude.
Yeah, he kind of reminds me of this guy Olivier with the Columbus Blue Jackets now. He's not a big guy, but he's probably one of the top fighters in the league right now.
I'd agree.
I would not want to mess with him at all.
No, I'd agree.
Also, with that time at the Blackhawks, there's you got to play for Brian Suter, which is great. And you even had a year where you had Tretiak as a goal coach. But speaking of coaching, just because I'm a coach, so I'm always curious.
Do you want me to elaborate on either two of those, or no? Or
yeah. Go ahead.
No, you ask your question, and I'll.
I would love to know how those guys were as coaches, but I'd love to have a follow up to, like, any other coaches that were really, really integral in your career and important through your pro career.
Well, I'm going to burst a few bubbles here then. Brian Sutter's a terrible coach. Awful. The only one worse than him was Gretzky. Brian Sutter is a great human being away from the rink, but he's a terrible coach. And Tretiak is the worst goalie coach ever in the world. He just didn't, and I'm not even gonna. He was an amazing goalie. Do not get me wrong. Same with Gretzky, but sometimes those who can do can't teach, and those that can't teach, right? Like that's a legit thing. Tretiak,
and the year when he was with the Blackhawks, you guys had like 5 or 6 goaltenders throughout the season.
Yeah, but he didn't teach shit. He sat there on his stick like this. So here's a conversation we had. He's like, Passy, you bad goalie. Thibault, okay, you bad goalie. And I'm like, Coach, I'm starting tonight, right? Like, thanks for the pep talk.
Right.
But literally, those are conversations. He just wanted to tell you about how amazing his career was. He's making his $150,000 to come over for 2 weeks and go home. And his name made him that. Great. But he didn't teach anything. You got guys like Francois Lair, Ian Gordon, stuff. They're actually up on the new Francois Lair, not now, but back in the day. Like, they were cutting edge. They were teaching the new stuff. Vladdy was still trying to teach you how to do a skate save. Right? We'd been past that.
Yeah.
He was making it on
I got to meet him at El Belfour hockey camp that he had in Michigan one time. And yeah, he just kind of stands off and you see him point a lot. I don't think I saw him talk once. He just points a lot.
No, because he doesn't teach anything. Right? And nice enough guy, everything like that, but they brought him in for the name. Let's be honest. They brought him in for the namesake. Great, but not helpful at all. Sutter was Brian's Brian. A very nice human being away from the rink, was always asking about how the wife, the kids were, everything like that. Ran the same 4 drills for a 2-hour practice. I'm going to say he's not the X's and O's guy. And I had some great coaches along the way, and great guys that they got to know the human, like who you were and what made you tick and what made you a better player. I remember I had Walt Kyle. I don't know if that name rings a bell. He coached in Seattle, and then a coach in the minors, and with me in Hamilton, and I was his starting goalie. And I'm a guy that hated practice. Like, when I'm the starter, I hate practice. When I'm a backup, I understand. I'm just a shooter tutor. I totally get that, and I know my role. But when I was in the minors as a starter, and I didn't like practice, I knew what I needed to keep me sharp. And so he'd come out, he's like, Pass, what do you want today for practice? And I'm like, I'm gonna do 2.5 drills. And I'm like, then I'm out. And he'd be like, okay. And he would literally design practice around me. But he would be funny because we talked about it, and he goes, I will give you this rope as long as you keep winning. You screw up and you stop winning,
Full practice.
oh, we're back to getting bagged. And I'm like, fair. That's almost like my carrot. Like, you keep standing on your head, I will keep giving you all the rope in the world. You stop standing on your head, you're back to being a grunt. And it was guys like that you know, you built the relationships with. Lauren Mulliken, who brought me to Chicago. That's when I came back from the heavy metal poisoning. They were struggling. The team turned around. I'm not saying I turned the team around. I'm saying it just happened to be happenstance that it turned around when I came back. And Mooner was like, he's like, Pass, we resurrected both our own careers. He's like, I'll take you with me wherever I go. July 1st, I had a 3-year contract on the table from Chicago that he signed as a head coach. So guys like that stood up for their word. They took the people that got them there. They remembered the girl they brought to the dance. Right? Like
Yeah.
I respect those guys. And probably my number one was Don Hay in Kamloops. Amazing, man. I'm 52 years old. If he came into my office right now where I'm standing and he's like, Pass, I want you to go through that wall, I wouldn't ask him why. I would just go through the wall because he never steered me wrong, and he always thought, did what was best for me. And if he's like, I need you to go through that wall, it's like, yes, coach. I'm 52 now, and I'll still do it.
That kind of leads me up to kind of the last few years of your career, and the fact the lockout kind of put a bit of a problem there. But you went to Europe, and instead of coming back after the lockout, it seemed like you kind of stayed in Europe. How was that experience for those years?
I'd love to say it was my decision. I couldn't find a job.
Okay.
I came back. You know what? I came back. I signed with Phoenix. I had a bit of a handshake deal with Phoenix that I would be the old guy that was you can count on me. We know that if somebody gets injured, we can call you up. So that was kind of our handshake deal, that I'd teach the kids in the minors. I'd show them what it's like to be a pro. But if somebody got injured, I was the guy that got called up to sort of supplement income. I'll take a lower salary than I could get in Europe. They didn't really hold up to their end of the bargain. So I said, peace out. I'm heading back to Europe. I liked Europe. It was fun, man. Like it's a great cultural experience, and everything like that. And then I ended in Italy. I got bought for the playoffs, which I didn't know you could do. I was playing in Austria, and I got bought by Italy, by Milan for the playoffs. Which was cool.
I was gonna ask what happened that year.
It was weird.
Looking at it. Yeah.
No, so I'm playing in Austria. Our team sucked. We missed playoffs, and the GM came to me and they're like, Milan wants to buy you for the playoffs. I'm like, what does that mean? Like, I don't understand. I don't get it. It's a different league. How do you just buy another player? And they're like, well, we'll negotiate with them. I'm like, no, you won't. I'll negotiate with them. And I went home and told my wife, and I'm like, want to go to Milan for a bit? She's like, yep. I'm like, okay. So I negotiated with them. We went there for the playoffs. I was injured. So the last 10 games, I didn't practice any. It was games only. The doctor was literally injecting both my hips with freezing for the games. And I'm not a doctor, but I knew that wasn't good for me. So after that season, I tapped out, and I'm like, you know what? I like my kid. I want to be able to walk with my kid. And if I'm freezing my body for every game, it's probably not good for me.
Yeah. Plus, I can't give you another superhero name. We already discussed Iron Man, so I can't give you Mr. Freeze or anything like that.
Right? I know, and yeah.
Well, one thing I'm curious about before we kind of run into the end of your, or what has happened after your career. Is there any real stories that we missed that really stand out that you think of that happened around this quite different approach to a career in hockey?
Nothing I can talk about. No, I'm just kidding. You know what? I get in shit because I never talk about my career. Some call it humble. I'm not impressed with my career because I wanted more. But if I go 100 feet back and if I was looking bird's eye view, I'm proud of what I did. For a kid that was 5'9", skinny, and to be able to say that I ever played in the NHL, never mind the fact that I had a 14-year pro career. I think it's pretty cool. And I am proud of it, but I'll never tell you about it. That'll be the last thing you ever hear out of my mouth. I remember my kid coming home I picked him up from school. He's like, "We were watching your fights on YouTube." I'm like, "Don't do that. I've never won one." Like, but it is cool. So don't kid yourself. I'm quite proud of my career. Proud to say I played in the NHL at all. I got
it's a pretty low percentage in the world of hockey.
Shutouts still. I got a few wins. I got a couple assists. I had a few fights. I got a couple jerseys that proved it has my name bar on the back and everything like that. I backed up a lot of games. I ate a lot of hot dogs on the bench, and you know what? Hopefully, I made a lot of fans, cheer and laugh, and I always had fun out there, man. That's one thing that I enjoyed playing the game. I got caught on camera a couple times making fun of fans on TSN. That was honestly one of my highlights when one of my buddies called me. And he's like, "Were you chirping a fan on TSN?" And I'm like, "Yep, probably."
Well, Passy, it's been so great to hear about this career and the fact that, like you said, you just wanted to have fun. You wanted to play your hardest. You wanted to put it all out there, which, looking at this laundry list of stats, it shows.
I wasn't the best by any chance, but I showed up every time.
I'm sure you were good enough to not only win the Memorial Cup, but win these awards and also, you were a lot better than most. We'll just put it that way. So,
thank you. I appreciate that. I really do.
I think after your career, now that you're curious about this, 2007 was the end of your career. 2013, from what I see on your business career, there's a little bit of a gap there. What brought you to thinking about finance as the next step?
So I'd gotten into the restaurant industry, investing wise, during my career, and then actually got robbed by one of my partners, stole everything, and so had to kind of restart. When I say restart, I mean like restart. And it always, so I don't work well for other people, whether it's my personality or the fact that I like free time. I hunt, I fish, I like to do things with my family, and I don't like 9 to 5. So, yeah, I got into an industry that intrigued me. I like talking to people. I'm a extrovert, love people. So when I looked at this industry, I could help people not only build their future, because I really wish somebody would have talked to me about investing when I was making money, because I went down to that much monies. And so I wanted to help people that way. And planning, my father passed away at the age of 50 with no planning. And I wanted to help families on that side of things and help plan and talk to people about real life shit. And that's what I get to do now. I run my own business. I get to help people plan. I get to be there for the highs, the lows, and everything in between. And if I don't want to work Friday, I don't book a meeting. Man, if I'm gonna go hunting, cool, I go hunting. And that's, I wish there was a I don't know, maybe a more analytical reason to that, but
I think
for
it's
an hour now,
important.
you probably know that this kind of fits me.
I think
And
it's
this is
important.
exactly it.
It's
I get
important.
to spend time with my wife and my kids and my family and my dogs and hunt and fish and do the things that I love, but still help people on the side. And I
Yeah.
get to have meetings with people and meet new people all the time. That's what I love.
Yeah, and that's interesting, because when you talk to some people that work in finance, it's like, oh, well, I want to do this, and they talk about the trends and all this other things, and it's to the fact that you kind of said, you know, you just want to help people is real great, because I also have had that problem growing up where, you know, my parents were blue collar people, so I didn't really know too much about finance. You know, that the saying was, you know, save money, and that was the only thing I understood. I couldn't do much of that because I was young and stupid. So, but I love that you named the business after your jersey number, 729, System 29. Sorry, and I'd love to know, for someone that listens to this, that, you know, hopefully lives in the area or is willing to reach out to you. You know, what's a little bit of a quick elevator pitch of the company?
There is no elevator pitch. I am who I am. And I always tell people, anytime we meet for the first time, it's a first date. So you're going to have to like me and I'm going to have to like you. And if not, I'll high five you and I'll find you somebody else. But realistically, I'm not changing who I am. I'm me. I love helping people, and that's not a pitch. And anybody that is my client will tell you exactly that. There's probably going to be a lot of F-bombs in our meeting, which, by the way, I've done very well. Not throwing one
Yes,
out.
proud of you.
But I just actually literally enjoy hanging out with my clients and helping them. So there is no elevator pitch. It's just,
Yeah.
I always tell people I have more tailgate meetings than I do boardroom meetings, because it's more my style. You'll never see me wearing a tie, because I don't think that makes you smarter. You want to look smarter. It's not the thing. I'm in jeans and it's a button-up shirt all the time.
Yeah. No, I totally understand that, because I had those moments where I had to wear a suit for work, and it's not that fun. So
No, but a suit doesn't make you smarter. It makes people
no,
that wear the suit think that they're smarter than other people, and they get to talk down to them.
yep,
That's not cool.
that's exactly. I mean, I actually work for a strategy firm now, so it's much more, you know, it's much more casual, which is nice. So,
Absolutely.
but Steve, this has been a wonderful chat. I'm glad we got to kind of touch all aspects of your career. Got to learn a little bit about your upbringing, and even talked a bit about what you're into now. This has been awesome, and I appreciate it so much.
No, I
Appreciate you
appreciate
so
it.
much.
Thanks for having me. You guys have a good one, and keep in touch, all right?
Well, what a great conversation with Steve Passmore. I mean, the heavy metal blood issue that he had was so wild. And then the fact, you know, his three fights, his three goal fights, and then, you know, just kind of giving some real understanding about, you know, coming from one team and being the guy, and working hard at being the guy, and then, you know, having disruptions in your career, having, you know, having to go to Europe, having to play, not as many minutes in the NHL that you want, but still loving the game and still loving it at all aspects of where he was able to play. So, and then to find out that he's just doing really great finance work with people in his community. Such a great guy. Definitely check him out. Check out his YouTube links. A lot of it is about the fights, but there's some pretty good interviews that other people have had with him as well. I think you'll enjoy that. My hat, again, Puck International. You'll see them around me. I'll make sure I put the link below. Definitely check them out. If you purchase anything, definitely notate that you found it on Cross Ice Pass, because I'd love to make sure that these great things that they sent me is they know that they made the right decision by sending me a couple some hats and some shirts that are so wonderfully made. So please do that. And on to episode 39. It might be a little bit of a break between this and the next one, but I guarantee it's going to be a really impactful, very exciting guest. I've got some new ones on deck that I think you'll love. This isn't going to be a weekly podcast or vlog or whatever we want to call it anymore. It's just going to be once in a while. I'm going to shoot out some pretty cool content with a really cool interview with someone that I think was really has a great story about their hockey life in the hockeyverse, as I like to call it. So much love to you all. Get ready. We got the playoffs coming. I know everyone's stressed right now because some teams are real close. My Red Wings, wink, 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 wink. But so are the Rangers here in New York, Islanders. People are stressed. These are the moments that we love. We've got great college hockey. We've got great minor league hockey coming. Playoffs for the juniors. So definitely also go support the PWHL if you live near one of those teams. Go check them out. The games are amazing. They're they're electric. So enjoy your night, day, wherever you may be, and don't forget, gonna throw that puck cross ice for a top cheddar shot. So we'll see you next time.
What do you think?